Jerry
Alright, what's going on, my people? Welcome to the Sn95 Power channel. I am starting off this video off the top of my head. I'm going to try to walk through majority of this just based off of memory. A lot of times you see things on YouTube, it's scripted. I do a lot of scripts, I do a lot of prep, but I'm gonna let y'all in behind the scenes on this one. So what we have here is my Coyote swap. Uncut, everything's uncut. Coyote swap GT500 per supercharger. Now, most people, when they do this, they go with a control pack, Ford Racing control pack. I decided to go with a Holley Terminator X. A couple reasons for that, the ease of tuning, that's one reason. And the second reason is, how the wires can be condensed. It's real easy to hide these wires on these Holley systems. Getting through all that, it's not really a problem, but one thing I don't like, I'm using the stock F-150 alternator, and I tested this out for the first time yesterday, where I had my intercooler pump running, I had the cooling fans running, and my voltage went from 13.7 to 13. Now, the alternators on these cars, these Coyotes, they're path width modulated. So the cool thing about the Holley is I have outputs that are PWM. So I already have my cooling fans hooked up to a PWM signal on the Holley, and I think I have two more pulse width modulation negative signals left. Well, that I don't have to really configure. It's already kind of preset. So I'm going to try as much as I can off memory to get this set up, and you're going to come along for this journey. All right, so let me just run down this real quick for y'all. So before I added this little wire, I was getting I was getting 12.2, or was it 12.4? It was in the low 12s. Was the alternator charging? Yes, but at only 12.4 without AC, cooling fans, or anything like that, that's a pretty poor output for your charging system. So this blue wire right here is the PWM signal for the alternator. That's the middle pin of this alternator. So I just short looped it to a constant 12 volts. So in theory, it's always seeing a high. There is no modulation. So it's always seeing a high signal. Doing that got me up to 13.7. But the problem is it drops down to, I believe it was 13.0 when the fans were at high speed. When the intercooler pump was running, it got down to 13. So we're going to set this up. I'm going to try to set this up, and hopefully it works. So if y'all are new to Holley, I'm going to excuse the mess, it's far from being done. I'm going to show y'all how to connect. Now normally Holley just gives you this handheld, but there is a serial to USB adapter that you buy, which is this right here. You just plug that into your laptop. Now that we are connected, I'm just going to choose my file. I'm going to turn the key on. Now the tune is already synced or loaded into the Holley, but I want to go live. I want to connect to the Holley and be able to do some tuning. So I'm going to hit this synchronize button. See, the file is already loaded to the Holley. I didn't change anything. And then you click this USB link. Now it says online right here. Another way you can tell that you're online is the little green dot right there. So, yesterday I was having a little issue, and I think it's because my octane content is kind of off. I had a 5-gallon drum, and I probably had like 2.5 gallons of E85 in there, and put another 2 gallons of pump gas in. And I think the Holley didn't like that, so I just put 5 gallons of 93 in. So hopefully this helps smooth out this car. Started, we're gonna let that warm up. Our little coolant system. This is just a little Mitsumoto expansion tank and a cheap little Amazon pulse width modulated intercooler pump. Cool thing about that is if I wanted to vary the speed of that pump, I could using the Holley because it has a PWM signal. So only thing I have to do is connect it to an output like I'm about to do for the alternator. I've already done it on this right here. So let me get my book. PWM for the Chevy Volt fans. I'm not using, well, I'm using fan output number 1. And actually, I think I have both of them. No, I don't. I just have PW, sorry about that. So right now, I'm only using electric fan number 1. But I can check these wires to see what's available. I know this gray and green is already used, so I'm not going to use the AC shutdown, or I think I'll use output 2. That's a gray and red wire. Sorry about that camera work, y'all. Point of me doing this is right now my voltage is at 13.5, 13.6. Now if we go back to this, I'm looking for a gray and red. I would rather use gray and red. So these are the outputs. And this looks pinkish, but I think that's red. I think that's red. So if that's gray and red, which I think that's correct, I don't have a gray and pink wire. Just let me double check. On this page, those are all red and white. Nope. Yeah, so we're good. So we're good to use this one, gray and red. Or I could use the gray and black, that one. I'm gonna using gray and red because I'm using output number 1 to control the fans. No problems with that. And so let's go over here. I believe I'm going to have to disconnect. There we go. All right, I believe I'm going to have to disconnect to go to these IOs, maybe not. Outputs. All right, so this one's already configured. If you can't see what that says, uh-oh. That says PWM fan 1. That's a pulse width modulation negative signal. So let me see if I can go here. All right. Let's enable that. We're going to call this PWM. That PWM ALT alt. So now we're going to configure it. And nope, that's wrong. I need to go to, well, I'm using output 2, so I'm gonna have to use the, sorry y'all, you might not be able to see this. I chose output 2, so I'll have to use the gray and red wire. So if I go back here, outputs, output number 2 is PWM negative. So I think this is where I'm going to, not define, configure, don't want to enable it. All right, so this is where I gotta stop and go do some research and figure this out. Because pin map, if I go here, pin map, yeah, okay. Pin map input, no, I want outputs. View outputs. There we go. I said I was going to use this one right here. I'm using output 4 already for. All right, yeah, I'm using output 4 already. So now I can use output 2, but some kind of way I have to configure this. So we'll figure that out and we'll come back and hop into this video. All right, real quick. So here is my PWM fan in action. I think I can go, sorry y'all, I'm horrible at this. Go to my pin map, outputs. No, that's not it. Here it is. Outputs, configure, PWM setup. All right, there we go. So right now, anything over 185 degrees is 97% output. Anything under 185, it drops off. So you can hear the fans are slowing down because the cooling temperature is 183. And then when it gets to 170, it should completely turn off. All right, here's my little plug. Now, this outside one is pin 3. This goes to a 12 volts. This middle one is your PWM signal. I ran out of butt connector, so I just made this. So ideally, you want this to go to a switched 12 volts, so the alternator is not excited all the time, possibly running battery down. But for right now, we're just going to continue to do this until I run this wire for my PWM. Right now, I'm just going to run it outside the car just to make sure this theory works. All right, so now inside the car, I have my gray and black wire. So what I did not do with this, originally I did not assign this output. So let me go here, save all this first. So you saw me do this, go to naming this. You saw me change this, but you did not see me do this. I went to pin map, outputs, and what I did, because normally output 3 is AC shutdown, so I just grabbed it, left click hold, drag it up there, and then my PWM alt was up here. I grabbed it and assigned it to pin 3, and I was done on that screen. So then I came back to here and it was defined B10, which is output 3. And then I came here to configure input triggers, switch to 0. I'm using the RPM to control the output. So, gosh, I'm hoping y'all can see this. So only one sensor is controlling the PWM of the alternator, and that's RPM. Linked outputs, none. Timer, nothing. And so this is the table. Basically, the whole RPM range from 500 RPM to 7300 RPM is calling 50% duty cycle. Once I see where the alternator is at, I can change these numbers around. So this axis is the throttle position. So, you know, no matter where the throttle position at, except for 100%, is going to turn off the alternator, but it will still charge at 12.2 volts at 100% throttle. Up here, a couple things you gotta change. You gotta change this to fix. Frequency 100, duty cycle, and make sure the x-axis is TPS and the other axis is RPM. So now that we have all that set, let's see if this is gonna work. So, since I made changes, I am going to synchronize this. So it's just telling me to turn the engine off and on again. Let me turn the switch off and on. Switch is back on. Synchronize it. It's okay. USB link. Yep. So right now, it's seeing this right here. TPS is at 7%. Voltage is 12.3. Let's give it a try. So that's 13.3 63 volts. Let's kick this up to 70. See what happens. So it's reverse duty cycle. So let's kick it to 30. 14.2. 14.4. Voltage right there, 14.4. So it's reverse duty cycle, like the little handheld thing that I had. The closer you get to 100, the less duty cycle you're gonna have. So if I hit this to 50 again, you're gonna see this drop down to 12 or 13.6. But I think I had it at 30, and it bumped up to 14.4. So man, yeah, I love this Holley. It's just little stuff like this that makes this whole Holley kit well worth it. So I'm gonna let this get up to temperature, and I'm gonna turn on everything and see what the voltage does. So yeah, I just ran this wire externally just to test this out. So yeah, we'll let this get up to temperature and see what happens. All right, so I have to say, like, I am like digging this Holley Terminator X. I think I have one more pre-pinned output that I can use for PWM negative that I might run back there to the back to the intercooler pump. So actually, I don't really think it really matters back there. I do have to figure out how to do the resistor trick for this. This is just like almost like a thermocouple, where it's going to read my intercooler water coming back from the pump. So I want to be able to monitor that. And cool thing about the Holley, I think Holley might have a sensor that I can already use. I've got to dig into that, or if not, I just have to wire a input to not input. I think that'll be an output. But anyway, yeah, I just got to figure out how to do that. I've saw a couple of write-ups in a video. People call it the pull-up resistor, which you use, and you have to set up a table inside the Holley. I'm like I said, I'm not really 100% sure on that. But so, gosh, if you haven't noticed, in the video, I was kind of like in the process of doing some things, and this is kind of like the almost final cosmetic thing that I had planned for the car. And gosh, let me get this guy's name right. Kenne Customs. He used to be the guy at Ponies that had the Candy Apple GT 350 swap Sn95, and he had like a sapphire blue Sn95 with a 351 that was all polished up. Kind of got this from him. His radiator cover was painted to match the engine bay, firewall painted to match the engine bay also. So my man Greg was telling me about doing it like that, and you know, he's kind of searching around. I'm like, man, I know I've seen that before. I know John had his coats, had his firewall painted, the wiper motor painted to match the engine bay. But I'm like, I can't remember where I saw this from. Come to find out, I looked at a couple of my videos from Ponies and Smokies, and yeah, that guy, Kenne Customs, he had his radiator cover painted. He was using the JLT style, I think, or he custom made it, but it looked like one of those JLT style radiator covers. This is just the stock radiator cover. The other thing that I'm gonna get going to is this headlight from the Sun Chaser. So that, as you can see, is like a little Ram air scoop, And this right here will allow me to put a modern projector and not have to hack up a lens assembly. So we're excited to get started on that. I've got to pull or maybe I might get another header panel because I have to do some trimming in order to get this in here. You can't really see it, but there's no clearance on the back of the header panel for this to slide all the way in. So this is going to be a nice little feature. Hopefully it will help. And it's like that on both sides. I gotta wait to get the other side from him. But hopefully that little feature will help cool off this engine bay. You know, I have a cowl hood. You know, people talk about low pressures and high pressures and stuff like that. I just hope I just get good airflow throughout this engine bay. But yeah, that's really it as far as cosmetic stuff on this car. I still have to get the front bumper on. I might have to move that heat exchanger up a little bit. Not sure about that. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Other thing, air conditioning. I've got an idea because the 96 and up guys, this liquid line right here, for the 96 and up, it comes out a little bit and is angled. So that's why it's easier to have AC with 96 and up as opposed to 94, 95 guys. You know, Ford knew that they were going to put a 4-valve motor in the 96 and up, so they made that little revision right there. So, you know, it's kind of angled out the way and you can easily put that liquid line right there. I don't have that luxury, so I've got a couple of ideas on how I'm going to do that. I'm just trying to grab something to show y'all real quick of one idea. So either I can try to make a 90-degree bend right here, or I just might use like a compression fitting. The more I think about it, I'm just going to use compression fitting, and it'll pretty much mirror the angle that the 96 and up liquid line kind of has. So that's where we're at right now. I have an issue with my what would you call that, alignment. I think I got too much toe in where and I got too much caster or camber, and I got to fix that where the car will only move forward a little bit and then it'll start binding. So, and my steering wheel is all out of whack, so I got to get that taken care of. But yeah, I like this little accent. Actually, rattle can some clear on here. I didn't have any clear to mix to put on there, so it doesn't look 100% matched to everything else, but it's close enough. I didn't clear the back piece because, you know, it's going to have like a shadow back there, so it's not going to be as obvious as this as far as color match. But I think it's close enough. You know, the camera is kind of deceiving, so it might look more color matched on camera than it actually is in person. But I'm telling you, it's pretty close. So I'm excited about it. Like I say, I think it's a nice little touch that I've only seen maybe one or two cars, New Edges or Sn95s, do this little color match thing. And I think it makes a big difference on how the engine bay looks. So now, as my man Greg told me at Gears Auto Works, you know, when you look into the engine bay, all the focus is on the actual engine because, you know, all the little panels are all red. So everything is just kind of blended in around that. And, you know, you look at the engine bay, that's the main focus of it. So, hey, I'm curious to see or to hear y'all feedback on this. Tell me what y'all think. Yeah, there's really nothing else that I'm gonna have to move that vacuum block someplace else when I get the AC up in there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the engine bay. I went to the junkyard today and got these little rubber stops for the hood. And yeah, I took the Turbinator little bolt assembly out. Let me see if I have one of those. I don't have one anywhere. But I didn't like the polished set screw that came with that kit. So that's why I just got some like gloss black bolts. And I think that looks a little bit better than the Terminator for what I'm trying to do for this engine bay. I wish I could have like got one of those bare remastered cylinders or something like that, but too much money. Probably should have powder coated or painted the power steering reservoir. Hey, it is what it is. So yeah, tell me what y'all think about this. I think it looks pretty tight. So hey, yeah, the Holley system is well worth the money if you're thinking about upgrading to it. I'd say I have no personal experience with the control pack, but yeah, everything is just right there on the laptop. Is super. There's a lot of information out here. Like a lot of the LS stuff, as far as controls or setting up inputs or outputs, it carries over to this. So there's a lot of information out there on how to do stuff with this Holley Terminator X, and you know that can kind of save you in the long run. So instead of paying somebody to do certain things for you, there's a bunch of resources out here already with this Holley Terminator X, and the only thing you gotta do is just look for that information. So, hey, I appreciate y'all rocking with me on this little long video. I'm just like rambling right now. So, until next time, God bless.